So you've made it. You've hit that C1 level in English, which is a huge accomplishment, by the way.
Yeah, seriously.
But now what? I mean, you're good, really good. But sometimes it feels like there's this wall between you and sounding, well, truly exceptional like a native speaker.
Yeah, I get it. It's a common feeling at this level.
Totally. So today we're going to dive deep into some tips and tricks to help you scale that wall, to go from very good to, mind-blowingly good.
Exactly. And we're not going to waste your time with the basics. Yep, this deep dive is for the advanced learner, someone who's ready to really dissect the nuances of English and refine their skills.
Right? And the really cool thing is we have this document packed with tips specifically for C1 learners. It's called C1 Level Tips to help improve your English level. And that's going to be our guide today.
It's a fantastic resource, really practical and actionable advice.
Exactly. So our mission today is to pull out the most transformative stuff, the stuff that's really going to help you break through that plateau. Yeah, make that leap.
And the document covers a lot. Mastering conversation, expanding your vocabulary, fine-tuning your fluency, grammar, reading, writing, even understanding the cultural context. It's a lot.
It is, but we're going to break it down. Absolutely. So I guess the natural place to start is with conversation, right? I mean, you've probably aced all those textbook dialogues by now.
Right? You can probably order coffee in your sleep at this point.
Probably. But what about those real-life conversations? The ones that are unpredictable and messy. The kind where you can't just pull out a pre-rehearsed phrase.
Exactly. And the document really emphasizes the importance of practicing for those situations. Yes, it specifically says, practice realistic, spontaneous conversations.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
Well, think about situations where you have to think on your feet, like a job interview, and suddenly they hit you with a curveball question. Or maybe you're in a debate, and you have to formulate your arguments on the spot, right? Or even just those everyday social conversations that jump from topic to topic, or negotiating something where, every word matters.
Exactly. It's about being able to handle those unexpected twists and turns.
Totally. And the document actually gives a great example of this, a conversation between these two people, Alex and Maria. They're discussing an ethical dilemma at work, which I think we've all encountered at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not a clear-cut black and white issue.
No, it's very much a gray area, as Maria says in the conversation. Exactly. So Alex is kind of floating this idea of, maybe bending the truth a little bit for the company's benefit, which is, always a tricky situation.
Always. And Maria's response is so interesting. She says, that's a tough call. I believe in transparency, but in competitive markets, some might argue it's strategic rather than deceptive. It's so nuanced.
So nuanced. It's like she sees both sides of the argument and can express them thoughtfully. And that's really what we're aiming for here, that ability to navigate complexity, right? And it's not just about what they say, it's about the language they use.
Absolutely. The document highlights some fantastic advanced phrases from their conversation. Yeah, that's a gray area, which immediately signals that there's no easy answer. I see where you're coming from, shows you understand the other person's perspective without necessarily agreeing. And then, of course, the classic, let's agree to disagree. A great way to move past an impasse diplomatically.
And then there's that empathetic, if I were in your shoes, it just takes it to a whole other level. Yeah, showing real consideration. And it's not about, just memorizing these phrases and dropping them in randomly, right? It's about understanding how they function in conversation, how they help you navigate those subtle social dynamics.
They make you sound less robotic, more human. Exactly, more like you're actually thinking and reacting in real time.
So how do we get better at this? How do we actually start using this kind of language in our own conversations?
Well, the document has a really practical suggestion. Record yourself responding to different prompts. Think about ethical dilemmas like the one Alex and Maria discussed, or current events, or even just random social questions. And then listen back critically.
Yes, critically. Ask yourself, where did I hesitate? Where could I have expressed myself more clearly or more subtly? Were there opportunities to use those advanced phrases?
I love that. And there are even tools that can help with this, right? Yeah, for sure. VoiceThread and SpeakPipe are great options. It's all about getting that objective feedback on your spontaneous speaking.
Awesome. So that's conversation. Moving on, I think vocabulary is another big one at the C1 level. It is. You probably already have a pretty broad vocabulary at this point.
Yeah, you're not struggling with basic words anymore, right? But now it's about depth. Depth, yeah. How will you really understand the nuances of the words you use and how naturally you can integrate them into your speech?
Okay, I'm with you. And the document is really clear on this. Learn words in context, not just in isolation, which means ditching those endless vocabulary lists.
Exactly. They can only get you so far. What you need is to understand how words behave in the real world, right? The company they keep. So like what words usually go together?
Exactly. Collocations like strong coffee, not powerful coffee, or bitter disappointment, not sour disappointment. You know, those little things that native speakers just intuitively know. And then there are idioms, which are like a whole other beast. These colorful expressions that don't make sense literally, right? Like kick the bucket or spill the beans.
And the document says connotations are also important. Oh, absolutely. Connotation is the emotional baggage a word carries, the subtle shades of meaning. So cheap and inexpensive technically mean the same thing, but they have very different feelings associated with them.
Totally. And so how do we, practically improve our vocabulary in this way? The document suggests a really cool strategy: thematic vocabulary clusters. I like the sound of that.
It's about grouping words together based on a central theme. So instead of having these random words floating around in your head, you create these little mental maps. They give an example of business and innovation with words like disruptive innovation, scalable model, market saturation, profit margin, competitive edge.
I see, yeah. It's like building a vocabulary web around a specific topic. Precisely. And the key is to not just list the words, but to understand them in action.
So give me an example. Okay, let's take disruptive innovation. The document defines it as an innovation that significantly alters or creates a new market, and then gives the example of Uber. Right? Uber totally changed the transportation industry.
It did. So now you're not just memorizing a definition, you're seeing how the word functions in the real world. Yeah, that makes it way more memorable. And they do the same thing with scalable. They define it as able to be expanded or increased efficiently, and then use the example, the app is scalable and can handle millions of users without performance issues.
I get it. It's about seeing the word in its natural habitat. Precisely. And this kind of contextual understanding is what will allow you to not just understand native speakers when they use these words, but also to start using them confidently and naturally yourself.
Awesome. So that's vocabulary. What about fluency? Fluency, that elusive quality that makes someone sound so effortless and natural. Yeah, it's like they're just gliding through the language.
And the document gives us a brilliant tip for improving fluency. Imitate native speakers. Just copy them.
Well, more specifically, through a technique called shadowing. Shadowing? Yeah. Basically, you listen to audio from a native speaker, could be a podcast, a news report, anything, and you try to repeat it aloud at the same time, or just a split second behind.
Oh, wow. I can see how that will be challenging. It is, but that's the point. You're not just repeating words, you're trying to mimic their pronunciation, their intonation, their rhythm, even their pauses.
Intonation. That's the melody of their voice, right? Exactly, and sentence stress, which is how they emphasize certain words to convey meaning.
Okay, yeah. So are there any, specific podcasts or audio sources they recommend? Oh yeah, they have some great suggestions, all for the advanced learner.
Laying on me. Well, for current events, they recommend The Daily from the New York Times. Okay, I've heard of that one. It's really high quality. And then for, immersive storytelling, there's Hardcore History. I haven't heard of that one.
It's amazing. And then Freakonomics, which is all about, these thought-provoking discussions on, basically anything.
So pretty diverse range of topics there. Yeah, and they're all challenging but really engaging. And it's important that they're challenging, right? Oh, absolutely. You want to be pushing yourself with authentic, unsimplified English. Makes sense.
And the document also talks about focusing on certain aspects of pronunciation. Yes, connected speech, intonation, and sentence stress. These are often the final hurdles for advanced learners, right?
Connected speech is how we often run words together in natural speech. The classic example is, what do you want to do? Becoming what you want to do.
I do that all the time. We all do. And being able to recognize and reproduce those connected forms will make a huge difference in your understanding and your own fluency. Okay, that makes sense. And then intonation adds so much meaning and emotion to what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like the music of the language. Exactly, and sentence stress helps you emphasize the most important information. So, what about resources? Are there any tools that can help with pronunciation?
Definitely. Forvo is a great one for hearing words pronounced in different accents. Oh, that's handy. And Youglish lets you see and hear words used in context in YouTube videos, so you can see how they're actually used.
Exactly. And then there are apps like Elsa Speak, which provide personalized feedback on your pronunciation. Wow, technology is amazing.
It really is. Okay, so we've covered conversation, vocabulary, and fluency. What's next? Grammar.
Oh no, not grammar. I know, but don't worry, it's not about memorizing endless rules. At the C1 level, it's about mastering what the document calls subtle structures. These are the more complex grammatical forms that allow you to express really nuanced meanings. So we're not talking about basic verb tenses anymore.
No, we're way past that. Okay, good. So what are some examples of these subtle structures? Well, the document highlights mixed conditionals, which are they allow you to talk about hypothetical situations with different time frames, like what would be happening now if something different had happened in the past.
Okay, I think I get it. And then there's inversion for emphasis. Inversion? Yeah, it's when you change the normal word order to add emphasis to a statement. Okay, and then there are cleft sentences. Cleft sentences? That sounds painful.
Not all. They're a way of focusing attention on a specific part of a sentence. Okay, and finally, nominalization.
Wait, what was that last one? Nominalization. It's about turning verbs or adjectives into nouns to make your writing sound more concise and formal, often.
I see. So the document gives some great examples of all of these. Oh good, I like examples. So for mixed conditionals, they have the sentence, if I had taken the job, I would be living in New York now.
Okay, so it's like combining a past unreal condition with a present result. Exactly, and it creates this really nuanced meaning. Yeah, I see that. And for inversion, they have, never have I seen such an incredible performance.
Wow, that sounds so dramatic, right? Putting never at the beginning really emphasizes it. And for nominalization, they give the example, the decision to postpone the launch surprised everyone. So instead of saying they decided to postpone, they use the noun decision, which is more efficient and sounds more formal.
Exactly. So these subtle structures are all about expanding your expressive range, giving you more tools to convey your ideas with precision and style. Awesome. So that's grammar. What about reading? Well, I'm sure you're already reading a lot in English, hopefully, but at the C1 level, it's important to diversify what you're reading. Diverse?
Yeah, read different types of materials, different styles, different registers. Don't get stuck in a rut. Okay, so the document gives a bunch of examples: academic journals, opinion editorials, fiction, biographies, even legal or business texts.
Wow, that's a lot of variety. It is, but the point is to expose yourself to different ways of using the language. I see. And it's not just about what you read, but how you read it. They have this really helpful advanced reading strategy.
Tell me more. So first, skim for the main ideas, just to get the gist of what you're reading. Okay, then if you need more detail, you can scan for specific information. Right. And this is important: highlight and define any new words you encounter, and make sure to understand them in context. Exactly.
And finally, try to summarize each paragraph in your own words, just to make sure you've really understood it. It's active reading, not passive. Exactly. You're really engaging with the text. Yeah. And to get you started, they recommend some great books and articles, right? Likeys?
Well, for one, Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. I've heard of that. It's supposed to be really interesting. It is, and the language is very sophisticated. Good to know. And they also recommend articles from The Economist, which are known for their in-depth analysis of current affairs. Okay, I'll check those out. And then essays from a New Yorker, which are known for their beautiful writing. So basically, challenge yourself with high-quality reading material.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on to writing. Writing, I know it can be tough, but the good news is at the C1 level, you're past the basics of grammar and structure, hopefully.
So now it's about refining your style, making your writing as clear and impactful as possible. Okay, and the document's main advice is to edit ruthlessly. Ruthlessly?
Yeah, don't be afraid to cut, rewrite, rearrange. Be your own toughest critic. Okay, I can try. So they give a few specific techniques for this.
I'm all ears. First, focus on sentence variety. Don't let your sentences all sound the same. Right, mix it up. Exactly. And be mindful of your tone. Make sure it's appropriate for your audience and purpose. So like knowing when to be formal and when to be informal.
Exactly. And each paragraph should start with a strong topic sentence that clearly tells the reader what it's about. Good old topic sentences. And finally, use linking words and phrases to connect your ideas smoothly. Words like consequently, nonetheless, in contrast.
Okay, I see. And to really illustrate this, they give a before and after example paragraph. Oh, I love those. So the before version is pretty basic. Many people think social media is bad. It makes people feel sad. They compare themselves a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of choppy and repetitive, right? And then the after version is so much better. Social media can negatively impact mental health by encouraging constant comparison, which often leads to feelings of inadequacy and anxiety.
Wow, it's so much clearer and more concise, and it uses more sophisticated vocabulary and grammar. That's the power of editing. Okay, so now for the really fun part, cultural fluency and idiomatic language. Ah yes, this is where things get tricky, even at the C1 level. Especially at the C1 level because you're trying to sound like a native speaker, and that means understanding all those subtle cultural nuances, right? Like idioms, jokes, sarcasm, proverbs.
Exactly. These can be really tough to grasp if you haven't been immersed in the culture.
Totally.
So the document gives a couple of examples of idioms with clear explanations.
Okay, laying on me.
So the first one is bite the bullet. Oh, I know that one. It means to do something unpleasant but necessary, right? And they give the example, I didn't want to go to the dentist, but I had to bite the bullet. Makes sense. What's the other one?
The ball is in your court, which means it's your turn to make a decision or take action. Got it. And the example they give is, I've made my offer. The ball is in your court. So understanding these idioms and knowing when to use them can really make you sound more natural.
Absolutely. It's like adding that extra layer of authenticity. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here: conversation, vocabulary, fluency, grammar, reading, writing, even cultural fluency. It's a lot to digest. It is, but the document does a great job of summarizing it all into a practical daily routine. A routine, like a schedule?
Exactly. It's called the Daily C1 English Routine.
Tell me more.
So they recommend doing specific activities every day with suggested time allocations and even tool suggestions.
Okay, this sounds really helpful. It is. So for example, they suggest spending 15 minutes reading the news aloud from sources like the BBC or The Guardian. That's a good one. Then 10 minutes working on your vocabulary notebook, maybe using Quizlet or Notion. I love those tools. And then 20 minutes shadowing podcasts using Spotify or Audible.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that. And then 15 minutes writing journal entries, maybe using Grammarly or Hemingway to help you edit. And then, of course, 15 minutes actually speaking English, maybe using a language exchange app like HelloTalk or Tandem. It's a great way to put all these skills into practice. It's like a little workout routine for your English.
Exactly. A little bit every day goes a long way. Consistency is key, right? Right? Absolutely. Okay, so we've reached the end of our deep dive, and I think the takeaway here is that reaching C1 is just the beginning. It's like you've climbed one mountain, but now there's a whole mountain range ahead of you.
Exactly.
The journey now is about constantly refining your skills, pushing yourself further, paying attention to those tiny details that make a big difference like we talked about, seeking out high-quality English input, challenging yourself with your output, really paying attention to how native speakers use the language.
It's in those nuances that you'll find the path to true mastery. Totally. And the document ends with a really powerful quote. Fluency isn't about speaking faster, it's about speaking better.
It's so true. It's about quality over quantity.
Exactly.
So, as you continue your English language journey, think about which of these daily habits you can incorporate into your life. Even just one small change can make a big difference over time. It's about taking those small, consistent steps towards becoming the best possible version of yourself in English.
So keep learning, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep having fun with it. That's the most important part. It is.
All right. Well, that's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.